Welcome to the Born Wild podcast. This space is for birth workers, parents, and families. Anyone drawn to a more honest, intuitive way of living, birthing, and growing. Here we have real conversations, learn through reflection and community, and make room to explore without judgment. Because at the end of the day, we are all born wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Henderson, and today I have with me Sarah, who's going to share her two birth stories. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Will you introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
listeners before we get started?
Yeah, I'm Sarah and I used Sophia for my first home birth with my second baby.
I'm I'm curious where your journey into motherhood begins, because some people always knew they wanted to be a mom, and some are like, "We had a surprise pregnancy," or
Right.
like,
Yeah.
when did you know?
No, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Like I was one of those kids that's like, in high school, like, oh, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I just want to be a mom like that.
Oh,
I had no really career plans, like I was really into horses. And so like I took that avenue with always just praying. I'm like, God, please just give me a husband and kids because that's what I want. And then I met my now husband and we got married and we had people coming being around us being like, oh, just wait a little bit. And I told him, I was like, I don't want to wait. We've already been together 4 years. I'm like, I want to be a mom. And so we got pregnant with my oldest right after our honeymoon.
aw, sweet.
So yeah, it was exactly what I wanted. I'm like, I don't want to wait any more time. I want to be a mom now.
Yeah, tell me what that pregnancy was like.
Yeah, so that pregnancy was good. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I had a very good pregnancy. It was something that a family I nannied for knew you and kind of like was like putting in my ear, like, oh, you should look at, home birth and stuff. But it wasn't something I like totally knew about. So it was just kind of like in my ear. And so we just went through my pregnancy, very easy, low risk pregnancy. But I did ask my husband, I'm like, oh, would you be interested in this? And he was like, no, that's crazy, And I was like, okay. Like I didn't have enough knowledge to have the pushback at that point. So I was like, okay. And so we went along with the hospital birth. And it was fine. There was nothing crazy traumatic. It just wasn't what I wanted. And there's a lot of things that I would have changed. But, I was like, my baby's here. We're both healthy. But when I got pregnant again, I was like, yeah, I'm not listening to you this time. We did it your way last time. I'm like, we're going to have a meeting with Sophia. And then ended up having a home birth.
That's funny. Oh,
Yeah.
are you able to put your finger on anything about your birth that, it's great that it wasn't traumatic? And like we hear this fairly often where they're just like, I feel like there's something different.
Yeah, I feel like it just wasn't personable, It was uncomfortable because I'm at a hospital, which I mean, I don't really know anyone who's really comfortable at a hospital. So you have that and you're trying to progress, but there's like this uncomfortability with it. And then you get to this weak point, right? And if you don't have people cheering you on, it's like you just kind of break. You're like, okay, whatever. Give me something with it. And that was with me as I felt like it was just like I got to the point where I think it was around like 18 hours. And I think like 8 hours, they had me on Pitocin. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. And so they just kept offering the epidural. I'm like, no, I really don't want to. And then finally, I think in the last half hour, they ended up doing a spinal block to so I could push her out because I was just so tired and weak at that point. And I just remember feeling like, yes, my baby's here and we're both healthy, but I just remember feeling so sad that I didn't get the birth that I wanted. And so I think that's kind of what was hard for me in that aspect.
And the Pitocin they gave you, was it because they felt like your contractions weren't strong enough and they were augmenting you? Or
Yeah,
were
they
you
felt like they weren't strong enough and they felt like they weren't close enough. And I remember telling Kyle, I was like, I don't want to do this. But at that point, they had already dripped it. But I told him, I was like, it was already so painful. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want that to be closer yet. I'm not ready. And then, yeah, then it started. And I remember my dad came in to see me and he left because he's like, I can't see her in pain like this. I have to leave. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And anything you remember about your placenta and immediate postpartum, was that pretty uneventful? How'd that go?
It was uneventful, but well, with my placenta, I was still numb, so I don't really remember, like, it just came out quick. I remember being very upset because we specifically asked for delayed cord clamping, and they ended up doing it when I was just, like, kind of disassociated, like, I was, holding my baby and everything, and Kyle tried to tell them to stop, but they had already done it. So I remember being frustrated with that, and then I do remember pretty quick, I got it set in that I had postpartum anxiety. Like within 24 hours, I remember feeling so tired. And then, you have this first newborn baby, you're somewhere, you're uncomfortable. And that set in pretty quick. I didn't sleep the whole time we were in the hospital. And so when I got home, I was exhausted. um, but yeah, I couldn't sleep. I remember they tried to put her in like the little bassinet, and I was like, no, I don't want her in there. I want her right here. Um, and so yeah, that was really hard because I was so tired, but I was like, I don't want you to put her somewhere else. I want her with me.
Yeah.
Um,
What about your breastfeeding journey if you chose to breastfeed?
yeah, I did choose to breastfeed. I'm actually still breastfeeding her at almost 3. I was so thankful. I've always had a wonderful supply and she latched on great. That was nice because everything else, with the postpartum anxiety, it was nice to not worry about that. The only thing that was hard was the cracked nipples. That was the hardest part.
Yeah. Do you feel
But
like you got cracked nipples because, her latch was shallow?
I feel like I didn't have enough knowledge to know why. I don't know if it's because she was, like, cluster feeding, so they were just always on and getting used to it, because after that first section of cluster feeding, they kinda, calloused up like they do, and I had no more pain.
Good, good.
Yeah.
And then you had another pregnancy. Talk to us about that. Were you planning on spacing your kids out a certain
Yeah.
amount of years, or how that unfold?
Yeah, so we started trying for Hattie when Dallas was 8 months because I kept hearing about this, like, secondary infertility thing, and I'm like, "I'd rather get pregnant too soon than, it take us a while." And so I actually prayed. I'm like, "God, give the baby to us whenever you're ready," but I was like, "I wanna start trying for my peace of mind now." And originally, our whole plan was always to be 2 years apart. And so we got pregnant at 14 months or when Dallas was 14 months. And yeah, they're 2 weeks under 2 years apart. And so it was exactly what we wanted, which I love. Um, but yeah, so it took us a little bit, took us 8 months to conceive Hattie. But I was like, it's okay. I just get more time with Dallas on my own. But we were very ecstatic when we got that positive pregnancy test.
Yeah. And do you remember when your cycle returned?
With Hattie or Dallas?
Dallas.
With Dallas, I got my cycle, 1 week after my 6 weeks postpartum. So I was 7 weeks yeah.
I feel like this is such a good question I need to remember to ask each time because women are always asking, when's the first
Yeah.
cycle come back? Fluctuates.
Yeah, it totally yeah, my sister-in-law didn't get it for, like, 15 months, so I
Yeah.
was hoping, but that wasn't my case.
Yeah. So you like bled right into your cycle returning.
Yeah. It was almost like, did I overdo it? Am I bleeding still? And then but no, it came right back on the schedule.
And was it regular from the get go?
It was totally regular.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
it never skipped a beat.
Yeah, because every once in a while, women can have what we call like a pseudo period or false menses
Yeah.
around 6-ish weeks.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't return and it doesn't stay regular.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, that was hormones. And were you exclusively breastfeeding? Was she getting bottles, pacifiers, anything like that?
No, I was exclusively breastfeeding. I think I pumped a handful of times. I dealt with some OCD postpartum with like I felt like I could never get my bottles clean enough. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take this stress away. I'm with her all the time. And then yeah, I just breastfed the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go, ladies.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are, like, not wanting either a pregnancy again or at least too close, and
Yeah.
it's always the first time you ovulate, you're either pregnant in 2 weeks or
Right.
you're bleeding,
Yeah.
so you have to be careful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So,
well, you got pregnant. Will you talk to me a little bit about prenatal care and when you decided to have a home birth? And then also, how you were navigating testing options in this pregnancy versus maybe how what you decided to do for testing. Like there's blood work and all sorts of things you can choose to have to monitor the
Right.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this pregnancy, I called my typical OB. I really liked my OB. He was really nice. And so I went in and we just did all the typical blood work. What is that blood work called for? Is it the
Well, there's a couple different names. They call it the OB panel, but it's like a pregnancy panel.
Yeah, yeah. So we just did that just to check everything. And, we did the first ultrasound to confirm the pregnancy and everything. And that was good. Like I said, I liked my OB. I had no problem. But I just, every time I just remember dreading going. I'm like, I just don't want to go. I feel uncomfortable in the doctor's office. Like, also trying to get Dallas in there and to sit still and everything. I was like, it's just uncomfortable. And like I mentioned, I dealt with OCD. So like, I just didn't like the environment. And so I kept mentioning it to Kyle, and then as I was entering my 3rd trimester, I was like, "I'm setting up a meeting. I need you to be home by 5 o'clock because 'cause we're meeting Sophia and Leah." And he was like, "Okay." And I was like, "It doesn't like, we're not signing our life away, like, we're just asking them questions." And I really think that he thought with his questions, he was, like, gonna stump you guys, but you had answers to everything. And after, I could tell he felt confident, but he like thought on it on a day. And then, of course, you get outside opinions like, oh, that's so dangerous. And his family had given opinions in the past of it. And so I was like, I don't want to tell your family, not because I don't care. I was like, but for my peace of mind, I don't want to hear horror stories. I'm like, I trust Sophia and Leah, and they give us all the science behind it, the logistics behind it. And I said, and this is what I feel peace with. We've been praying about it. And so he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I texted you. I was like, okay, we're doing it. And I remember
I
instantly feeling peace about it.
I'm curious, do you remember any of the questions he had?
It's just funny because we had different things we were concerned about, but he was so worried about like if I hemorrhaged. And looking back, that's something that was really talked about in his family of like why birth is so scary. And I think that was one of his main questions was the hemorrhaging, and then also how you guys knew when it was time to go to the hospital, if there was a time to go to the hospital. And I remember you guys answered so easily, and all your guys' statistics of like how many people you've taken in an emergency or not. And that made him feel a lot better. Um, and that's kind of when he was kind of like, okay, maybe this is more fear mongering on the outside, just from everyone. It's not like anyone's fault, but, they really try to scare you about it. And so hearing from you guys who do it, I think really made him put it in perspective of, okay, this isn't what I've always thought it was.
Yeah, it's not very often that we transport, let alone by
Yeah.
emergency. Like, I've
Yeah.
called for an ambulance 4 times, and one was not really an emergency, but we're like, it would be hard to get her in the car, but we're like, "You don't need the lights and sirens,
Right.
we do need
Yeah.
a ride."
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
kind of when he was kind of like, okay, like this isn't sounding so scary anymore.
yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, that was an exciting point because I was like, okay, because now we're going to do this every birth.
yeah, it's the gateway
Yeah.
drug,
Yeah.
huh? That's how I feel about birth centers sometimes, where it's like they're like, "Oh, well, if I could do it in somebody else's home, basically, I
Right.
could do it in mine."
Right. I could do it in my home. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So
okay, talk to me about the pregnancy, like, how was it for you? Were there any hiccups along the way? Was it pretty
yeah.
smooth?
Again, pretty smooth. I just like Dal says, first trimester, pretty nauseous, but other than that, pretty smooth. I was a lot more tired with my pregnancy with Hattie, but we had found out that my ferritin was low, so it kind of made sense. But again, super easy. Like, just, I have no complaints. Like, this is why I want to be pregnant all the time because it's just easy for me.
That's
Yeah, I love being pregnant. So yeah, I, love feeling them. And yeah, like I said, only just really tired. And it wasn't every day. It was just like if I did a lot of activities the next day, I was pretty winded. But thank God for grandparents that live nearby. And just go over there.
right.
Take a
Yeah,
nap while she goes in place.
my parents are right upstairs. We're,
Yeah.
like,
There
on
you go.
family compound, but none of us
Yeah.
have built homes, so we're all in one home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, it was
that's great.
easy.
Well, take me to the birth, like, how did
Okay.
it unfold? What
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, so a week before I actually went into labor, I had a lot of pressure, like, in my butt, and I'm like, "What is going on? Do I just have to go to the bathroom?" And I remember telling Kyle, I'm like, "I can't call her, I feel so embarrassed." He's like, "Just message her." He's like, "You're freaking me out." And so I messaged you, we talked, I got in the shower, and it ended up just going away. I think it, like, lasted for, like, an hour or something where they were like, every 5 minutes, but then it went away. And so I was like, "Okay." And so we went on a week. We went out to my parents. Dallas had just gotten some goats at my parents. So we went out there. My nephew was in town. We were all playing around. And I went into the house and I was having contractions. I don't even know, every half hour, but they were enough to stop me where I'd have to like breathe through them. But again, they're so far apart. And so I was like, oh my gosh, so uncomfortable. And so I remember going and getting down on my hands and knees for one of them. And at that point, they started going like every 15 minutes. My sister's friend came in, her best friend, and goes back out. So it's like, is her in labor? She's like, I don't know. Like, she's like, she's been doing this all day. And so we leave around 8:30. I'm in the car and they start coming closer and closer. But I was like, okay, this happened last weekend. Like, we'll just see. I was like, I'm gonna get in the shower and see if it slows them down again. And so we get in the shower, or I get in the shower, and I can't even like wash my body because they're hitting me back to back. And still, I'm nervous to call you guys because I don't want to be embarrassed that it's a false alarm. And so so I get out of the shower and I'm sitting on the toilet. I have one, and Kyle's like, "You need to call Sophia." And I was like, "You need to call her. I can't talk." And at that point, he calls you. You're like, "Put her on the phone." And I have one. I can't talk. You're like, "I'm on my way." And so that at that point, I called my mom. I was like, "Hey, like, I think it's time." And she's like, "Okay." And my mom, it's so funny looking back and hearing other parts of your story because my mom said that she like tapped my dad. I was like, "Come on, let's go." And he was like, "I am not going. Like, I don't want to see her in pain again." And my mom's like, "Too bad. Like, you're coming. Like, Dallas is going to want you." And so you guys got
Him
there. I
and
think,
her were so sweet together. Oh my gosh, her and her grandpa.
yes. They're still
Cute.
now that she's like talking a lot more, she was always like, "Papa's my bestie." And I'm like, "We know." We know. Um, so then I think you showed up first. And I just remember such a sweet moment. You walked in, you rubbed me on the back, I was in the middle of contraction. You're like, it's gonna be her birthday. And I remember just feeling so, I tell Kyle this all the time, just so warm, it didn't feel like, let's get you in and out of here. Like you were here to, support us and celebrate us. And that was such a big thing to feel comfortable. And where Kyle's getting the Deb set up and everything. And Dallas is running around just ecstatic that her friends were there. And then Carissa walks in. And then I remember at one point, my parents showed up shortly after, and things started not to like super slow down, but they were like every 3 minutes. And then they started to go to every 5 minutes. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, was this a false alarm? And again, you reassured me. You're like, no, 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 this can happen when more people come in. Like, just relax. And then Dallas took her banana chips and spilled them all over the bed. So you're helping me clean that up so we could measure and listen to Hattie's heart. Um, and yeah, and then at that point, it went pretty quick. I was on the bed for a little bit. And then once Kyle filled up the pool, I got in there because the active labor was only 3 hours and it went pretty quick. I remember you only took my blood pressure one time. Um,
I
and
have a memory that I can't remember if it's true or not, but is it true that Kyle hadn't opened the liner of the tub
yes,
all the way,
yes,
kind of tried to
yes.
tape it, like, with duct tape on?
He didn't try taping, he was trying to hold it down with his hands because he's like, "Wow, this is so much smaller than the tub."
But somebody
And
else,
you're
the
and you're
duct
like,
tape
"Oh,
that
you didn't open it all the way." You're
we tell
he was
that
like,
to
"I was
dads now.
wondering why." Yeah,
We're like, "If it doesn't open, like, if it doesn't fit inside and all the
yeah,
way down to the outside, it's not
yeah,
open all the way, keep
yeah.
going."
Well, and I love the story of the birth tub too because yeah, like, because I was dealing with, like, the OCD stuff, and I remember, Sarah was working with you guys at the time, and it was the appointment where they drop all this stuff off, and she's like, "Guess what?" And I was like, "What?" She goes, I got you a new birth tub because we just got a new one in. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so sweet. I like cried to Kyle after. I'm like, they really pay attention. That's so sweet. And
Yes.
that just would like, I would just remember being like, that is so crazy that like they paid attention so much that she got, you guys had to get it in anyways. And then was like, oh, I'm going to bring this to Sarah's house.
Yeah, we're like,
Um,
reserve this one for
yeah.
her because we didn't want anything making you nervous to get in
Yeah.
it or like
And that's what
that.
I was like, this is like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. And Kyle's like, that is so amazing. And so I get in, and of course, everyone's favorite part is Chris comes to take a picture, and Dallas just puts her cheek to my butt cheek and smiles, like ready for the photograph. Um, and that part is just so funny to me too. Like she got her bathing suit on, and she was like, she thought this was just a pool day in the room. But yeah, it was really good. And then it started to pick up a lot in the last, I think, I don't even like to say I pushed for 30 minutes because I don't feel like I ever like grunted down and pushed. But once I got in the tub, I feel like that kind of made things go faster again. I had some pretty good contractions. I remember Chris was going to listen to her heart rate, and I was in the middle of a contraction, and she waited. And then that next contraction, her head popped out. No, the next contraction, she just crowned, and I remember being like, "Oh my gosh," and you're like, "No, no, it's okay. This is good. This is stretching everything. This is good," and I'm like, "This is not good, Sophia. This hurts." I'm like, "This is awful. I have to sit here with it." But it's funny because looking back to Dallas's birth, they put me on Pitocin because I was only like, 4 minutes apart and they wanted him closer. But even when I was pushing, I was getting like 3 to 4 minute breaks between each contraction. And so it just makes me like, that's obviously what my body was doing. There wasn't anything wrong when I was, contracting with Dallas. That's just what I got. And so, yeah, I remember I crowned and was sitting there. And yeah, I think right before that, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. This hurts. And my mom was sitting there, and Kyle was helping me. And my mom's praying over me, and Chris is giving me coconut water. And then another moment I remember is you just came up and you're just rubbing my back. You're like, it's okay. You have this. You're so close to me and you're a baby. And that's just one of my favorite memories because, again, it's just so much support. It's not like, all right, let's go push when you're not ready. Like, you're like, just wait for your body. It's going to be okay. And the next one, her head came out, and Kyle just loves that because we were in the water, and he's like, "Her head was just in the water." When he tells people, he thinks it's just so cool. He's like, "Her head was just in the water till the next contraction." And then the next contraction came, and her body came out, and Kyle pushed her through my legs, and I had picked her up. And yeah, I remember like crying, but I was just like so amazed. And I think the biggest thing when people ask me the difference is how you can be in so much pain or pressure, and then it's just over. And all these hormones rush, and it's like, I honestly felt like, "Oh, I could do that again," because it's that much of a shift right then, and you're almost like, "What was I complaining about?" Like, it's over. It's done. It's done. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then I held her on my chest, and I do remember feeling like she's so little, but she wasn't that little. I mean, she was almost 7 pounds, but we had at 36 weeks, I was only measuring 36 weeks until 40 weeks. Um And so I think I had that in my head that she was just gonna be so tiny. So then, like, with all the hormones, I'm like, "Is she too small?" And you're like, "No, she's fine. She's healthy."
And
But,
sometimes compared to your big girl now, who's
yes,
even
and I
bigger.
I think that's what it was. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this human is tiny." And, yeah, and then she was, bigger at birth than Dallas. But, yeah, it was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so tiny, and Dallas is so big." But I love thinking about it, like, dolls will ask to watch my videos sometimes and watch the CB born. But it was like the immediate relief, and like, because you don't really feel that when you're numb, right? And you're so tired in the hospital, and or at least for me, I didn't. And so feeling that change was like the most magical moment. I was like, I'm just here. And the pain was just like gone, and the discomfort was gone. She was in my chest, and within seconds, she was like, trying to find my nipple. And, big sister hopped in again and showed her how to do it
Yeah. She's like,
right
"Sissy,
there.
you're for me."
Yeah, she's like, we were sharing, right? Um, but yeah, it was amazing. I loved every bit of it.
Do you remember when your waters opened?
Yeah, so we talked about it after, and we were talking about I was like, "Yeah, the last few were, very uncomfortable before her head came out," and I think you were describing that my water had not broken until, like, one of my last contractions before her head came out. If I remember that
Mhm.
right, right? Like, you were saying it was
I
almost
mean,
like
I
as
can look it up in your chart, but, like,
Yeah,
sometimes we'll see, like, a whoosh of fluid in the water,
yeah.
or
I
mom
don't
report.
remember, like, hearing, like, "Oh, your water broke," but we talked about it after, and you're talking about,
Yeah, that's what
I think
happened.
yeah,
It was, like,
right at the end.
6 minutes before she was born,
Yeah.
we visualized a whoosh in the water. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what, and we talked about it after, like, that can be really painful sometimes on top of the contractions is the water pushing down like that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember feeling anything. Um, I don't remember feeling
Well,
any
there's
of
probably
it.
just so much pressure already,
Right,
what's a little bit
exactly,
more.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Do you speak to choosing to have Dallas at the birth? Because that's something that is a question for people who already have children is, should I have my kids there? Should I
yeah,
send them away? Like, are they gonna
yeah,
be scared?
yeah.
Maybe they won't like seeing me in pain. What was your decision in choosing to keep her at the birth?
Yes, so that was something that I actually was another reason we wanted the home birth is I wasn't ready to leave Dallas overnight or anything. So I knew I wanted her with me. Some that was just I was never worried about her being scared because she is very like attached to me. So I was more worried that she'd be scared or, like worried about me if she was away from me. And it was just something I felt more comfortable with her, and then also, like, part of why I had my parents here is that if she did get nervous or scared, she had my parents. But something I did, I don't know if it helped, I think it helped, is a couple weeks before I started to tell her, "Sissy's gonna come soon, and when Sissy comes, mommy's gonna make really loud noises, like, mommy might scream, like, I might, prowl like a lion," and, like, we'd practice. And so she'd go around telling everyone, "When Sissy comes, mommy's gonna go, ah!" And so I feel like mentally I prepared her a little bit of like, it's not it doesn't mean anything's wrong. I'm gonna make loud noises to get her out of me. And yeah, I think it was the best decision to have her because now I have those memories with her there. She got to play around. But as I was pushing, she wasn't in the room. Not because she was scared or anything. She just went out with Papa in the living room and turned Little Bear on and was like, I just want to hang out with Papa. Like,
Yeah.
she was just like, whatever. But
Like, it
within,
it was just that they're getting bored more than scared.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. She was like, "What is taking so long? I thought you said
Yeah.
sister is coming." But she came right in. There was a couple times she came in like during contractions and she was so sweet. She tried to kiss me or, hug me or whatever. But no, it never really crossed my mind that it would scare her. Um, but I had support, I mean, Carissa was playing with her and she come say hi to you. And yeah, I recommend it to anyone because I think it's so cool that they get to experience a birth like that. I mean, she's
And I
already
feel like
talking about my next one.
they really pick up on other people's energies too, and
Yeah,
so if everyone's excited and, like, the
yeah,
baby's coming
yeah,
and not a lot of nerves in the room,
yep.
then they just like, "Oh, okay, all the grown-ups seem like they're cool with
They're
this."
cool exactly, yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, like I said, Papa's her bestie, so she was like, "Good luck, mom." Like,
I got my guy
"Mommy, your
here.
Papa's here."
Yeah.
And I liked having her there too because it was so sweet. She got to help Kyle cut the cord. And I just think that is so sweet that she got to be a part of that. That's one of my favorite pictures is that she got to help do that for sister.
Yeah. Talk to me about immediate postpartum, like placenta and just, like, anything of note.
Yes. So I think my placenta came out easy. And I think we kept it attached for I think it was like an hour, hour and a half, just to make sure the cord was white and everything and all the blood was transferred. I honestly like that it happens so fast, like it's such a blur, but we kept it on for a while.
I can look at
Um,
it.
yeah,
It's not
you
a
like just
it's
yeah.
not a blur.
I'm trying to think because I sat in the tub for a while and then it came out and that
Let's
was
see,
not uncomfortable.
placenta
I was, like,
came
almost nervous to be uncomfortable, but it wasn't.
yeah, placenta came out in 24 minutes, so, like, a
Yeah.
half hour, and we cut the cord at 80 minutes after. So, yeah, like an
Okay,
hour and a
yeah.
half.
Yeah, yeah, so Yeah, that I remember, like, being worried, like, "Is this gonna hurt again?" But it wasn't uncomfortable for me, like, that was my experience, it wasn't uncomfortable at all. And then shortly after, you guys helped me get up, and again, like, Carissa was helping me put on, my big old diaper and supporting me and laying me in bed, and I just laid in bed and snuggled, Hattie, and I got a long skin to skin, and then it was time to, like, take her measurements and stuff, and it was just such a different experience. I remember when they went to go do Dallas's measurements, I was like, "Do not touch my baby. I don't wanna do this," but here I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, take her, Kyle, do your time, your skin to skin." I was, like, excited for Kyle to hold her and do skin to skin, and also I got time with my first baby, right? It was, like, 2 in the morning, she was still partying. I'm like, "Girl,
Yeah.
you need to go to
She had
bed." So, I remember during all that, I nursed her, um, and she finally went to sleep, but yeah, he took her weight on. I was just in bed cuddled up, and I was comfortable. I had Dallas next to me and everyone that I wanted there in the room, and yeah, I think another one of my favorite pictures is after she's born. Dallas is in the pool with me, Kyle's behind me, and then you can see my parents in the background, like, hugging each other, like, they, like, look like they're, like, happy and, like, crying, but happy. Um, yeah, so and postpartum was way easier, Kyle said. He's like, when Chris was putting on my diaper, he's like, "If I walked by you guys, I would never just imagine you just had a baby." He's like, "I would have never guessed." He's like, "You were, like, up and happy and laughing." He's like, "Your face, everything is just completely different from last time." And, you also have that confidence with the second one, but yeah,
yeah.
thankfully, I didn't get any postpartum anxiety or anything this time, and it was just beautiful. It's all magical. I loved it so much.
Ah, sweet. I know it's hard to compare first to second because first really paves the way,
Yeah,
and, like, sometimes no matter where you give birth, it's
yeah,
hard,
yeah. It is hard. Yeah, yeah, you're worried about it, but you have this confidence the second time, but yeah, I do think because I was so uncomfortable in the hospital, I do think that stalled my labor a little bit, but when you're comfortable, it makes such a big difference, the oxytocin and who you have around you. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember Kyle sent, a picture to his family. It was like, "Oh, she's here." And I guess later it was his sister who pointed out, was like, "I think she gave birth at home. Like, that's her dresser in the background."
Doing detective work.
Yeah. Because yeah, we didn't tell anyone. We told my parents, and that was about it. But yeah, it was great. And we got to talk about it after. It's easier to talk about your decision after because then it's like, "Oh, see, everything's safe. We're okay." We thought about it wisely. But you don't want to go into any kind of birth, no matter where you're going, with negative stories, in your head. And so I
Yeah.
just was like, we're just gonna keep it to ourselves.
Yeah. Some families feel that way about the name of the baby. If they know, they're like, "I'm not telling anyone till the baby's here. I don't wanna hear any
Yeah.
opinions."
Yeah. We did keep, Kyle wanted to keep her name, and so we kept her name a secret. I think we told you guys because 'cause I'm like, I'm talking about her all the time with you guys, but we kept her name, so that was fun too. Dallas is already telling me that I need to get pregnant again, and I'm like, "Okay, like, whatever, whenever it happens, Dallas." And
So
but she told me,
how old is Hattie, and has your cycle returned?
okay, so my cycle has returned at 5 months, so it was longer this time.
Okay. Mhm. Well,
Um,
maybe will you speak a little bit about tandem nursing too, because you're nursing 2
yeah.
babies now?
Yeah, so I know it's not for everyone, but it's been such a blessing for me, especially in the early days, because 'cause I'd get so engorged, and I don't like pumping, and so I'd just be like, "Dallas, let's go eat." And she'd help that engorgement, which was just such a blessing because 'cause I'd be in so much pain, and yeah, she'd just come, and sometimes I'd even have her take the first letdown before I put Hattie on, just so it wasn't rushing to Hattie. Um, and I mean, Dallas loved it. She was like, "This is amazing," because during pregnancy, around 5 months, it dried up a little, but then it came back, and so when it came back in full, she was like, "This is the best day of my life, like, this is amazing." Um, I'm still doing it, and now it's funny because Hattie's almost a year, and Dallas is almost 3, and now they hold hands, when
Mm.
they nurse, and, like, the sometimes they'll fight over the nipple, like, push each other's heads away, um, I personally love it because I feel like it's just made their bond, like, that much stronger, because they sit there and nurse together, and, I feel like it's just created a different bond for them, which I love to see, like, they're very attached to each other, and Dallas is very good about being like, "Oh, sissy, are you hungry? Have some booby, it's okay," like, uh, I know it's not for everyone, but I love it so much. Of course, there's hard days because 'cause I'm like, "Guys, can I just get up for a second? Like,
Yeah.
I'm always nursing you guys." Um, but I wouldn't change it, I really wouldn't.
Yeah, you're like, "Mom has to eat too."
Like, "Do you like" I sometimes I have to talk to Alice, I'm like, "Do you like milk?" "Yeah, I had to eat, so you get milk." Like, let me up for a minute. Um, I just love all of it so much. We've been so blessed how it's all worked out, and I love it, and I do it again and again.
If there is a mom listening
Yeah,
who maybe it's her first baby, maybe she's already had babies, maybe it's a dad listening who's on the
yeah.
fence, do you have any advice for people, like home birth curious?
Definitely listen to your gut. Like, let yourself be curious. Let yourself ask those questions. You don't have to commit. You can just call and ask questions, set up a meeting. You don't want to go through and be like, "Oh, I wasn't sure about it," but you never ask questions. Like, ask the questions so then you know your answers and then you can go from there. Versus being like, "Oh, well, this isn't what I really wanted, but I didn't know." You know, just set up the meeting, ask the questions, ask anyone, like anyone that you know had a home birth, ask them. I've never met someone who had a home birth that was like, "I don't want to talk about it." Usually they're like, "No, let me tell you about it, like why it's so great." Yeah, just ask questions. Don't let yourself be curious, but not get the answers that you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, if anybody wants to reach out to you, connect with you, do you have, any online, like, social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I have my Instagram. It's just Sarah Britton, SarahBrittain, and then 08. And they're welcome to message me on there and ask questions.
Great,
And
and
if
we'll leave
anyone,
that
yeah,
all.
yeah, and then you can message me through there because if husbands have questions too, and I can send out Kyle's number because he loves talking about it.
Aw, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
Um,
thank you so much for coming on, being willing to
yeah, thank
share.
you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Born Wild podcasts. Find us on Instagram or email bornwildpodcasts@gmail.com. If this episode supported you, please share it and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It'll help more families find us. This podcast is for education and storytelling only and is not medical or individualized health advice. And as always, stay wild.